Creepers left and right, buzz like crazy. Everybody's trying to steal my lady. Spiders in the mirror and things can't be right. Back to the scene of a Friday night, to a blessed collision still frozen tight. Spill drinkers, Cupid and the sound of her first chime. And why did you argue? We're dreaming of those eyes, the best part of my life. And when we make love, babe, don't make a sound, the clock won't turn around. Ooh, you turn around, 2,000 little fires, and your circle is spreading.
Hi, hello my friends. Hello my friends. Hello my friends. Sorry, my watch just buzzed at me and I was like, oh, gotta check it. Hi, how is everybody today? Welcome back to the vlog. Let's start a weekly reading vlog off. It's Monday. However, it is 4:40 in the afternoon on Monday. It's been a very busy day. I feel like I've been running around all over town. I had to go and pick up Cosmo's anxiety medicine because he's a little anxious boy. I had to run some other errands, just pick up some things. I had to go to the library. I did go to the library. I put a little bit of footage in there. I'll have to show you guys what I got. My books are not currently with me, which is unfortunate. I just love going to the library, you know? It's just like one of those things where you can get books and bring them home in case you didn't know how a library works. So, what in the world is up with my phone is being weird, but anyway, I am sorry. This is chaotic. Hi, welcome to the reading vlog. This is a weekly reading vlog, so I'm not sure exactly what my plans for the week are, but I do know last week I didn't vlog because I was finishing a Brandon Sanderson book, which was super, super long, and it was the second book in a series, and I just didn't really feel like vlogging about it because it's like, what do you have to say about the second book in a series with so many spoilers, especially with that series, which is full of like so many twists and things. So since I finished that, I definitely feel like reading some romance, and I've got a lot of romances that I want to read right now. One that I am reading right this second, which is going to be in this vlog, is Play Along by Liz Tomdordr. I really have been enjoying it. I just started it. I'm only like 10% in, but I love the narrators. I love the setup. I think it just is very fun. I love her. Historically, I've liked 2 of her other books. So this one is basically about our female main character she's an athletic trainer, but she has a pretty advanced degree, I think, for sports medicine, things like that. And she's finding it difficult to get a job in a professional sports arena because she's a young, attractive woman and there are young, attractive men on the sports teams. And so she's facing that type of like misogyny and prejudice in there. And so she does end up getting a job, but it's a much step down for the degree that she has as just an athletic trainer for this baseball team. And the book opens, pardon the planes, with her meeting the future hero of the book, and he is just sort of very struck with her. Like, I love their first meeting. I love how he thinks about her. I love what he is thinking about how she looks and her mannerisms and just everything about her. And then, you know, she explains what's happened to her, how she can't get a job and this, and she's upset about it. And then he realizes, oh, you're gonna work for my team. So then they can't be together, obviously. But then, you know, time passes, things happen. They end up in Vegas. She was engaged when they first met, and now she's no longer engaged, but there are some very complicated issues about her fiance and why he broke up with her. And so we end up in this spot where they're in Vegas and she's at a night out at a bachelorette party and she's feeling pretty low because of the circumstances of her fiance, which is why she's at this bachelorette party. And her and the hero go out and get drunk, basically, and kind of trying to numb her woes. And they end up getting married in Vegas. You know, like, the premise is a little goofy, romance reasons. I don't care, I'm here for it. It's fun so far, very engaging, really love the characters, really love the setup. I think they have great chemistry. I'm really interested in their connection, so I have a lot of hopes that I'm gonna love and enjoy this. So, that's the book that I'm reading, and those are my first thoughts about it. So, thank you, my friends, and I'm gonna go read, and I'll update you as I've made some more progress. Hello, my friends. Just a quick update. Me and Wanda.
Hi, baby. Hello.
Thank you. We just started working. I just filmed a TikTok review for A Sorceress Comes to Call. And I thought I would update you on Play Along by Liz Tomdordr. I put lotion on my hands and she always wants to lick them. So I am about a quarter of the way into Play Along. I'm on the middle of chapter 12, and the first part of this book, I was super engaged. I was very interested in this. I couldn't put it down. I wanted to keep listening. I was having a great time, you know? And I still am. But I feel like it kind of, the beginning that had a lot of really good romantic tension, I feel like it's kind of dwindled a little bit, and I think that's mostly because the heroine is so reluctant to have any feelings for him, even though she kind of wants to. So, however, I will say we did just get a scene where they went to this family party. She asked him to go with her because her ex-fiance is going to be there, who is supposed to marry her sister, and that's one of the reasons for the fake marriage, actually, in the beginning. And she asks the hero to come and go with her to that. And he plays along, of course, and there's this really great moment that, like, kind of had me, like, theoretically, like, kicking my feet. It was just so romantic and great because he was, like, leaning in to touch her. There was some talk about the lack of intimacy and physical touch that she's had at all in her life, which I thought was really, really great and an interesting thing to give one of our characters in a romance, you know? But there was a scene where he basically said, you know, just play along. I'm supposed to be your husband. I'm gonna love on you and gonna make him jealous. And it was just like, I love scenes like that. I really, really love scenes like that. So I'm feeling like the pace as far as the romantic development may have slowed a little bit because the heroine is kind of reluctant, but there are also some really good scenes too. So that's today's update. And I want to finish this book. Probably, I'll finish it by tomorrow. And then I'll start my next book, which I'm not sure what it is. I recently launched my Patreon. And I have a poll in there for a certain tier and above where they can vote on a book that I include in a weekly reading vlog. So I'm kind of waiting to see what that's going to be. Right now, it's like a 3-way tie. So in that event, I'll just choose one of those 3, I suppose. But anyway, I'll keep y'all updated. And Miss Wanda will keep us. Hi, baby. Oh, you're such a good. Oh, thank you. She's such a sweetheart. She's just such a sweet girl. Huh? On my lap.
Okay. Hi.
I'll keep y'all updated when I have more to say. My friends, hello. This is a lip stain. I know it is quite dark, and there's a quite good possibility that some of it is on my teeth. So why did I choose to update you right now? I couldn't tell you. Also, I can't see because I wear glasses. I don't like contacts. They are painful. So, you know, looking in the mirror, talking to you, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this right now? I don't know. Because I just thought I wanted to save some time. So I have about 1 hour left of the Liz Tomdordr Play Along, and overall I'm liking it a lot. Like, I have some things to say that I was going to get into right now, but the lip stain issue is making it so I can't really talk super great. I will say this is not a knock it out of the park for me, unfortunately. I'm still working through, like, why exactly that is. Love the hero. The hero is fantastic, and I think it is mostly around this disconnect that I feel, where he feels like he's been in love with her, he's been obsessed with her for so long, and we love an obsessive hero, right? We love an obsessed hero. But I feel like that works best when the heroine wants him and has had feelings for him that go beyond just he's a really nice guy or any type of admiration for what he does or who he is, or even attraction, because of her issues with like touching. She, you know what, I'm gonna finish my makeup. Because of her issues with touching, there are a lot of scenes in this book that progress their relationship forward through intimacy, and I think that's a really beautiful thing. But I still feel like there is an element lacking in the way that she feels for him. It's wonderful to see an obsessed hero, someone who's completely gone for the heroine, but I want her to also be not just like accepting it, but I want her to feel. So, and that's when I feel like when we have a hero who's super obsessed and we have a heroine who really wants him in that way emotionally, when she starts to see that and they click, like that's perfection. But also when we do have a very obsessed hero and he's very overtly showing her how much he wants her, he's not really holding anything back. You know, if she doesn't have something that's stopping her from accepting that, then there would be no story, right? So that's the thing where I'm sort of feeling like I don't dislike her as a heroine, but I feel like I wish that she wanted him in the same way that he wants her. And something else was kind of causing the divide in there other than her own perceptions or feelings worry about her career. Like, she doesn't really desire him, not in a physical way. She doesn't really desire his love and affection or to be his. And, you know, and I've got an hour left in the audiobook. I'm going to finish my makeup, probably finish this book and come back and talk to you because this clip was a bad idea. Well, hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. Okay, so I finished. I'm not sure where I shall sit. And gosh, I'm so professional, huh? Okay, so I guess I will sit over here and we'll put the picture right there. I finished Play Along by Liz Tomdordr, and at the end, I really did like it. Okay, the last clip, when I was putting my makeup on, see, the lip stain is pretty much worn off. It is about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. My last clip, I was pretty disappointed in this book, and I still don't feel like, like I said earlier, I don't feel like this was a knock it out of the park book for me at all. There were... Okay, let's get into it. So the ending was good. I really liked the ending. I liked how they ended up together. I thought it was very sweet. I wouldn't say this book is super romantic. And honestly, maybe that's my fault for associating like a deeply romantic book with Liz Tomdordr, only because I feel like she did such a good job of that with the previous 2 books. But this book to me feels extremely low angst, to the point that there's almost no story. Now, I do tend to prefer angsty books. I like a good amount of suffering and pain. I really do, especially in romances, because then I feel like the HEA just feels so earned and worthwhile. And there was a large chunk of this book, almost the entire thing, where there was nothing really keeping them apart, and they were kind of just playing house together and, you know, having a lot of good physical time together, but what was really happening here? You know, like, this book features our hero Isaiah, who has a pretty traumatic past with his mom. Something happened to his mom that traumatizes him, but that is so very briefly glossed over. It's not even really elaborated on about what that does to his character and how that affects his actions in relationships or anything like that. It was just sort of this thing that she gave him to create this tiny little aspect of his character for romance reasons. Like, and that's the thing that I feel like, while this book is full of tropes and a lot of them are done really well, it's also full of romance reasons that are paper thin, you know? And if you are in the mood to just like not be bothered about that, then I think this is a good read. It is very fun. If you're looking for a read with an extremely gone for the heroine hero who just like, for honestly kind of no apparent reason that I can see, is just completely in love with her pretty much from the get-go and never stops, you'll love this book. It's full of, and like, I enjoyed this book. It's not a favorite because, like I said, I'm talking about some of those things, right? But watching him just completely do everything for her, it was beautiful. It was really, really, truly beautiful. And in that way, he reminds me a little bit of an Abby Jimenez hero, who are very typically he is a golden retriever hero, this man. He is 100% a golden retriever hero. He is a simp for the heroine in the best possible way. Like, he's going to do whatever it takes to have her in his life in whatever capacity she wants to be in his life, you know? So I don't necessarily want a hero to have a little bit of bite to him, but I don't feel like that type of character really lends itself to anything other than a very flat, static character arc. There is no arc with him. There's nothing really that he's overcoming. There's nothing that causes growth. There's nothing that causes any regression. He's just very flat the whole way through. And again, like, he is a very beautiful main character. Like, I've been thinking a lot about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you know, like I do. But I don't know if you've seen it. There's an episode where Spike creates or has somebody create a robot version of Buffy that looks like her, and only, like, you know, she obeys all of his whims and desires. And that's exactly what Isaiah feels like. He feels like that. And that is really, I can see how that is very appealing and very fun and very, like, soothing to read in this world where it feels like a lot of times the men in women's lives are, by and large, not great. Unfortunately, you know, not always. There are absolutely wonderful men out there, but I feel like that's a really powerful reason why romance exists, is so that women can feel that in fiction. So I think he's a very worthwhile character to have. But the things about Mile High and The Right Move that really compelled me about that is that those heroes and heroines, they do have some trauma, they do have some things they're working through, and they are conflicted about their desires and how to move forward and what to do, you know, and this book, it just feels like it's super, super flat, you know. This book is also quite a bit shorter than those others too, and I feel like that is a bit of a disservice because she didn't really allow herself or give herself any space to get into the nitty-gritty details and to try and have them fight for each other. There was very little fight to this romance. The third act scene, it's not even technically a breakup, but that third act scene, it felt very hollow and it felt like over in a snap, you know? So I can see why this is very popular. Like, it has over 50,000 reviews or ratings, I can't remember which one, on Goodreads, and it's overwhelmingly positive. Like, it's a 4.58, right? This is the story, and I use that term lightly because there's very little story here. It's about a man who immediately falls in love with a woman pretty much at first sight and never stops throughout the whole book. And it's about how he beautifully loves and adores her and everything that he does for her. But just in the same way that his character was kind of flat, I also feel like her character was a little flat because she's very one note. The only thing that she really is focused on is getting this job, and how much of her life is just pretty much only about being a woman in a male-dominated field and the pressures and the prejudices that kind of are presented to her and against that. So that makes her very one-dimensional. It makes her very stereotypical. And even the element of her, like, not ever being touched, that is such a hugely profound psychological moment that once again was inserted here for romance reasons that are paper thin, and the only reason it was in there is for the steamy scenes, right? And I think that they were doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this book of moving the story forward and getting them to have an emotional connection, and I think they were well done in that way. But it just felt like the trauma that would create in someone and the fear of being touched, it was just glossed over. So I just feel like this just feels too much like it was written to a pattern. This was written as very formulaic. I don't know, I was disappointed with this. I really was. Now, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars, rounded up to 4 on Goodreads, because there were some really good things in here. Once again, her writing is very clear, very clean, very easy to read. I think she does a good job with her dialogue. I think she does do a really good job with giving romance readers what they want. There were some really beautiful scenes in here, but overall, if I look at this book as a whole, I just feel like it is kind of lacking in a lot of ways, which kind of makes me bummed out. And all that being said, this is still a book I recommend. But when we're talking about one of my favorite books of all time, The Right Move, and how deeply romantic and beautiful that book is, this book just pales in comparison. Like, it doesn't even compare at all. So I am disappointed about that. I will say he's absolutely beautiful hero, 100% golden retriever, fabulous hero, really, really great. I just wish that there had been a little bit more turmoil and that we had had some time devoted on page to work through these very specific traumatic events that were mentioned, but were never really dealt with other than for romance reasons. So I do be feeling a little disappointed about this one, but what are you gonna do, you know? So 3.5 rounded up to 4, maybe a 4. I mean, this is, again, I feel like I've had a lot of books like that this year where I'm like, it didn't quite hit. I was kind of disappointed, but I don't necessarily feel like it's a 3-star. It's not a poor quality book. It's just lacking that extra oomph that I wanted and that I expect from this author based on what I've read from her in the past. So 3.5 for 4, somewhere around there. And again, I would definitely recommend this, especially if you want something that's just very soothing and something that is really going to show you this man who worships the heroine. Like, you definitely read this. That is 100% what this book is about, and it's lovely. It really is. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. All right, so now I'm going to include one more book in this vlog. What the frickin' heck? Oh my gosh. Sorry. Apologies, I just saw something on my wall and I'm like, what is that? I still don't know what it is. So I mentioned earlier I started a Patreon. I'm very, very excited about it. It's very fun. I've got so many good people in there. It just makes me very, very happy. But one of the tiers and up, they get to vote on a book that I include in some of my weekly reading vlogs. So I put 4 choices in there, and the book that was picked is The Autumn Bride by Anne Gracie. So this is a book I've been wanting to read for a really long time. I know Jesson loves Anne Gracie. I know Jen really enjoyed this book. I know many of you love Anne Gracie. So this is going to be the first book of hers that I read, and I'm excited. So we're going to start that one, and I will be back when I have anything to say about it.
It is time, it's the perfect summer night. And those 3 words are spelled out in your eyes. Before I go on, say something wrong. I just hope and bite my tongue. 'Cause you've been told too many times before. Yeah, you've been told so many times before. So I'm gonna try with something new, and I'll never say that I love you. When the line between us just fades and blurs. That's the time when we just...
Hello, my friends. Hello. Welcome back. Okay, so I started and finished The Autumn Bride. I didn't update you. I was going to update you yesterday. Today's Saturday. And yesterday was just such a busy day that I didn't really get a chance to open up my camera. It was kind of a crazy day with work and my family. So anyway, I did really enjoy The Autumn Bride. The Autumn Bride is a historical romance. It's the first in a series. It's by Anne Gracie. Now, Anne Gracie is an author that every time that I ask, like, who's your favorite historical romance author, like on Instagram or something like that, Anne Gracie always pops up. I think she's very well loved, and this is the first time that I've read her, so I was excited about that. And I will say that I know Jen read this series of books several years ago, and I remember her telling me about them. I don't remember the specific details, I remember a few things, but I know that she really liked them. And then I know that Jessin from Smart Women Read Romance, she loves this series, and she gave this one 6 stars. So I feel like, you know, as is often the case when books are recommended to me, it's not that I don't want to read it, I'm just kind of waiting for the mood when I feel like, yes, I want to read that. So a few weeks back, I went through the Audible Plus catalog just to look for authors that I knew of, because you can filter on there and see, if you have Audible Plus, you can filter and see what books they have available that are free in the Audible Plus catalog, and I'm trying to utilize that more, even though I also, after I started reading this and realized that I was really enjoying it, I went ahead and bought the Kindle books for all 4 because they were kind of on a deal and I had like Kindle points saved up, and I just thought, you know, this feels like a very comforting read to me, and I can see myself wanting to reread these and have it on my Kindle. So that's the gist of why I was feeling like this right now. And so I've been really wanting to try, like, new to me historical romance authors. I've been wanting to try, I love trying to find new authors that I love. I kind of feel like I almost love that more than just reading authors that I know I love. It's just very fun for me. It's very fun for me. So this specific book was voted on. I put 4 books in a poll on Patreon. So this one was voted on by my patrons to include in this week's reading vlog, and that is a perk of, I think it's the $5 and up membership. You get to vote on a book that I will read in a weekly vlog that then shows up on my main channel. So that's what I did. This one was tied with a Lauren Asher book for a while, and then this one bumped ahead to like 50%. So the overall plot of this is we have our main heroine, Abigail. So Abby and her sister were orphaned when Abby was about 12 years old. So they lived in an orphanage, and they're kind of growing up. And at one point, Abby gets a job as a governess, and she goes and works on this job to try and get enough money to bring her sister out of the orphanage and take care of her. And while she is working as a governess, she has a run-in with a man who she believes she's going to marry and who's going to take care of her, and that everything's going to be great. She basically falls in love with him. You know, it's not just like she thinks he's going to take care of her. So then things end poorly. It didn't end up as she planned, and she's kind of fired from her job as a governess, and she is not marrying this guy that she thought she was going to. So she goes back to try and save Jenny, who has since been like trafficked into this brothel. And when she finds out Jenny, her sister, is at the brothel, she also sees these 2 other girls who are there, and Abby makes it a mission to save all 3 of them. So she successfully gets them all out of the brothel, and they're kind of on the run. They have no money, they have no means, and that is when Abby has this idea. She sees this really, really extravagant, beautiful home, but she notices nobody really appears to be living there. There's only lights on in the servants' quarters, and so she has the idea, desperate times call for desperate measures, to go in there and to try and find any valuables that they could use monetarily and get by and survive, you know? So she does that, and when she's going into that house, she goes into the bedroom of this old woman who is the matron of the house, not realizing that she was in there. She didn't know that she was in there. And the run-in between this matronly woman and Abigail was so wonderful. It was just so charming. It was so sweet, because Abby sees this woman is basically wasting away. She's ill. She's not taken care of. She's kind of residing in her own filth, and she is in a bad way. The servants have not been taking care of her. They've been using her finances and things like that. So Abby takes it upon herself to go in there and rescue her, to clean her up. She brings her sister and the 2 other girls, and they fire those servants, and she kind of helps restore this home to a livable place, and especially to make it livable and comfortable for this older woman who lives there. So they have a really great relationship. And honestly, by far, my favorite part about this book was their relationship, that found family aspect, because the older woman takes her under her wing and calls her nieces so that she can kind of provide for them, provide a little bit of financial security for them. And it was just so charming and so sweet and just so lovely. It felt very, even though it sounds like a very, plot reason of these things are happening for plot reasons, it didn't feel like that. It felt very natural. The dialogue really flows really well. I really loved the characters. I thought this was just charming. The found family aspect of it, the way that they meet in the beginning, was charming. That's the perfect word for it. It was cozy. It was comforting. It was just fun. It was so fun. I was having a blast reading this. Like, I didn't even care about the hero. He didn't even enter the picture until almost 40% into the book, and I didn't even care because I was just so invested in these young girls and their lives moving forward, and they were just great characters, really well developed, really well fleshed out. I was having a good time just following along in their story. So then the hero enters the picture around 40%, and he is actually the nephew of the matron of the home. And he's like, wait a minute, who are these girls here? You don't have any nieces. I know you don't have any nieces. And she's like, oh, pish posh, of course I do. It's my, like her half-sister or whatever, those kids. But he knows that they're not. And all of that, so there's a little bit of animosity there between Abby and the hero because he knows that they're not the nieces, and she's like, well, I'm not going to come out and say we are, but like she's taking care of us and we're also helping her, and I also care about this older lady, so there's a little bit of animosity to lovers in here. And of course, an attraction that starts out barely simmering and then comes full-blown by the time we get to the end. So I will say I was completely invested with this book until about 60-70%. And then the last 30% kind of tapered off for me a little bit, which I found a little disappointing. I honestly was never really invested in the romance in this, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because there were other aspects of the book that I was super invested in, specifically their friendship, the found family, the whole plot, the way this whole setup is. Like, I can't wait to read the other 3 books in the series, but this didn't necessarily feel super romantic. And even at the end, when they're declaring their love for each other, I was just sort of like, but wait a minute, when did this happen? Like, I just sort of feel like I missed the falling in love part, and I didn't love that, and obviously from my review of Play Along, you'll know that, like, I didn't necessarily love that. I felt like we missed a lot of the falling in love. And again, like, that's going to be something that's very subjective from person to person, right? Like, who am I to say what feels like when you're reading a book and you're like, yeah, it feels like they fell in love. But I do feel like there are some things that kind of lend itself to if it actually feels like love, and to me it just sort of felt like they kind of skipped the falling in love part, and more emphasis was placed on the building of the story and the world for the future books. And again, like, not that that was a bad thing, because I did really enjoy that, but it was very light on the romance. And so it was a little disappointing, but it wasn't like a deal breaker for me, because I just felt like this book was just really super charming and just very fun, and I liked it a lot. So all of that being said, I am going to give this book 4 out of 5 stars, but it's a very high 4, but it's not quite a 5-star book for me. So now that I actually feel like I have what is a true 4-star read, The Autumn Bride to me is a true 4-star read. This was just so fun. This was very cute. This was very sweet. I just loved and adored so much about this. Like, the complaints that I have about this are very, very minimal, and those are really due to, like, personal taste, what you're looking for or hoping to get out of this. And with all that being said, I think I am going to lower my rating to Play Along to a 3-star, just because the main reason I feel like that is when I was reflecting about The Autumn Bride, there really was nothing about this book that made me feel frustrated. There was not a single thing about this book that made me feel frustrated, like I wish this was different, or I was bored, or I'm upset with how the characters are lacking in development. Like, that's something that I find frustrating, when elements of a book are lacking. And even though I feel like the romance kind of jumped, it wasn't a frustrating experience for me, and I think that's mostly because it was quick, like it didn't take the whole book. And so when I think about Play Along, I was frustrated for a lot of that book. I really was. I was frustrated with the lack of character development. I was frustrated with the lack of romantic development. I just overall feel like that book was a more frustrating reading experience for me. So 3 stars, final answer for Play Along, but still not a terrible book. And I would still recommend that. I would recommend that for a modern day contemporary fake arranged marriage type of situation. I definitely would. Not arranged, but like a fake marriage situation. Those are kind of hard to come by, I feel like, in contemporary, if they're not like a mafia romance. The Autumn Bride I would recommend wholeheartedly as a historical romance, but I would always add the caveat there that it's kind of lighter on the romance. It's not romantic in the way that Elisa Kleypas is, or even a Tessa Dare, although I will say that this book, it just, like, the banter, the dialogue, everything about this book was just so much fun. And if I'm comparing the two of those, I had such a better time reading The Autumn Bride than I did Play Along. So 4 stars for The Autumn Bride, 3 stars for Play Along, and that's a wrap. That's where we're going to end this vlog. It is Saturday night. I'm going to get this video edited and get it up, but I also wanted to show you I bought physical copies. I really enjoy this fantasy romance series. I think it's a really fun one, and the first book is coming today. It hasn't gotten here yet, so I haven't had physical copies of these, but I did see that the author just got picked up by Atria, I'm not sure how to say that, books. And so these are going to be going out of print by like the end of July, the indie versions. And I have slept on a few indie versions that, you know, the covers went out of print, and I was like kicking myself because I really wanted them. So I bought these. I've been trying not to buy so many books. So this is a fantasy romance series I talked about in a video, my fantasy romance video. Anyway, this is the second one. Glow of the Everflame. This is probably my favorite. I've only read the first 2. I haven't read this book. This is Heat of the Everflame, book 3. I need to read this, but I am very, very excited about the series, and I believe when I thought book 4 was going to come out in July, that's what the author said, but I think she's now pushed it back to like December, so I've got plenty of time to read this. No rush. So anyway, that's my little book haul and plug for this fantasy romance series. If you like fantasy romance and you haven't read this, I would recommend the series. It's a good one. So alright, my friends, thank you so much for watching this vlog. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to join my Patreon, you know, the link is always down below. It's very new. I'm figuring things out, but we're having a lot of fun in there already. And if you have made it this far and you want to let me know that you were here, please leave me a butterfly emoji. And I will see y'all in my next video.